June 2nd, 1953. Inside Westminster Abbey, Prince Philip walks toward the throne. His wife sits above him. Not as Elizabeth, not as the woman he married 6 years earlier, but as Queen. Philip kneels. He places his hands between hers and swears his loyalty. Millions watch a husband promise obedience to his wife. For Philip, it is more than a ceremony. It is the public confirmation of what their marriage has become. Elizabeth now belongs to the crown. Philip must find a place beside her. The world knows them as the enduring royal couple. 73 years of marriage, thousands of joint appearances, a queen who rarely showed emotion, and a man who walked one step behind her. But that image hides the real question. How did their marriage survive Elizabeth becoming more powerful than Philip could ever be? And what did he have to give up so she could remain queen? Elizabeth is 13 when she meets Philip again in Dartmouth in 1939. He is 18, tall, confident, already used to uncertainty. Philip is born a prince of Greece and Denmark. His family is driven out of Greece. His father lives apart from them. His mother suffers years of serious illness. Philip grows up shuffled between relatives, schools, and countries. Elizabeth is his opposite, sheltered, ordered, anchored firmly in her family. During the war, they write letters to each other. For Philip, Elizabeth offers the stability he never had. But the engagement demands a sacrifice from him. He renounces his Greek and Danish titles. He becomes a British citizen and takes the name Mountbatten. Prince Philip of Greece becomes Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten. At first, the sacrifice seems small. Elizabeth's father is only 51. The throne seems distant. On November 20th, 1947, they marry in Westminster Abbey. Britain is exhausted by war. Clothing and food are still rationed. Yet the first years of marriage are surprisingly ordinary. Charles is born in 1948, Anne in 1950. Philip continues his naval service, based in Malta from 1949. There, Elizabeth is a naval officer's wife, not the center of a court. Philip commands men and holds a career that belongs to him alone. This may be the only period of their marriage when his role is entirely clear. By 1951, both are taking on growing royal duties. Philip leaves active naval service at 30. His career ends not through failure, but because his wife is drawing closer to the throne. On February 6, 1952, King George VI dies in the night while they are in Kenya. Elizabeth is 25. She returns as queen. Philip returns as the queen's husband. The difference is enormous. Elizabeth receives ministers, reads state papers, holds audiences. Philip does not. A prince consort may advise, accompany, support, but hold no authority of his own. The man trained to command now stands beside a woman whose power he can never share. Even the family name becomes political. Philip has given up his own name, yet the royal house remains Windsor. Philip reportedly complained he was the only man in Britain not allowed to give his children his own name. Whether he said it in those exact words matters less than the reality behind it. Not until 1960, 8 years later, may descendants use the name Mountbatten Windsor. By then, the pattern of their life is already set. In public, she goes first, Philip behind her. In private, it is different. He is one of the few people who can speak to her without treating her as a symbol. Courtiers serve the queen. Ministers advise the monarch. Philip lives with Elizabeth. He does not try to become a second monarch. Instead, he builds his own domains: science, industry, conservation, the education of young people. The Duke of Edinburgh's award becomes his most lasting project. But even this independence remains bound to her reign. His position exists because he is her husband. Their relationship is not gentle in any conventional sense. Philip is impatient, his humor sharp. Elizabeth is composed where he is direct. Perhaps their marriage works precisely because of that. Philip gives her what the institution cannot: normality. He makes her laugh and treats a royal problem as a practical difficulty, not a sacred crisis. Elizabeth gives him what his childhood never did: a stable family. The cost of this arrangement shows most clearly in the family's worst years. Her children's marriages collapse. Windsor Castle burns. Diana's death places the family under unprecedented pressure. The public sees a distant institution. Inside it stand parents trying to protect a family while preserving the crown. Neither of them is ever allowed to be simply a spouse or a parent. Every gesture can be judged in public. Yet when Elizabeth speaks about Philip, she returns to what happens away from the cameras. In 1997, on their 50th wedding anniversary, she calls him her strength and stay. Not her ruler, not her advisor, not the man behind the throne. Her strength, her stay. In 2017, Philip withdraws from public life. For the first time in decades, their official lives separate. But the marriage remains the private structure beneath her public reign. On April 9, 2021, Philip dies at Windsor Castle, aged 99. They had been married for more than 73 years. Constitutionally, the Queen stood alone for nearly her entire reign. Privately, she never saw her reign as hers alone. In her final message before her death, Elizabeth describes Philip as a partner who willingly bore the sacrifices of his role. Sacrifice. Philip gave up his naval career, his precedence, part of his name. Elizabeth gave up something too: a marriage untouched by duty. Their marriage did not survive because the crown left it alone. It survived because, inside a hierarchy that could never treat them as equals, they built a private marriage. That is exactly what the scene in Westminster Abbey showed. Philip kneels before the Queen. Then he rises and spends the rest of his life beside the woman beneath the crown.